Hey, I need to really do something about this really drastic stop in the music. I don't know how to change that. I have to figure that out in the production. But well, that drastic stop is a drastic interview or interval into this show, and I'm really excited about what's going to happen next. Maybe a bit of housekeeping before I get too excited. Welcome to the Creative Coffee Break. That's number one. Number two, my name is Werner Puchert. I'm coming to you all the way from Warsaw, Poland. Yeah, I do these live streams where I talk to interesting people, and those interesting people are usually designers. They bring frameworks, they bring insights, they bring their knowledge, and I created this platform to get them to share with you. And hopefully there's some things that you can take away from this. Also, the big thing with this is that I would love you to engage and connect and comment and share. So engage. My guest is going to be here. He can answer questions. Else you're going to have to listen to my questions. So take the opportunity. Then the other thing that I wanted to mention is that if you want to know what's going to happen in the future, if I get new guests and when I take a break or when there's new content, the one ask I actually have two asks. The one ask is that you jump into my mailing list. It's at creativecoffeebreak.live. You can find it there. I don't spam you. I'm not going to send you photos of my kids and stuff. It's just there to let you know when content goes live. And then the second ask is that I've done it before and it was super cool. If you're watching this, even if you watch the recorded version of this, drop a comment of where you're watching it from, because I would really love to know who you are and, who's watching this. Tell me. So let's get into the show. So today I'm really excited to introduce to you someone who is a friend slash kind of someone who has been at my wedding, but then also a professional that I respect a lot. And in fact, I got to meet his wife way before I met him. And the same day I met his wife, I met my future wife. Now, how cool is that? That's a long story. You're going to have to phone me up to talk about that. But here's the CXO and founder of GESTOOS, a startup that centers on computer vision and human technology interaction. So like he said to me in a call before, they teach computers to see and understand. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that, of course. And then before that, I didn't know this about him. Before GESTOOS, he was the director of Oblong Europe. And what makes that company interesting is that is the company that is widely known for creating the interface in the movie Minority Report, right? So, I mean, I think a lot of people, when they start thinking about like these interesting interfaces, they always quote Minority Report. So, I mean, I'm really excited. Herman is also a user experience designer, interaction designer, and designer in his soul. So without further ado, let me get the man on screen so I can talk with us. Herman, welcome, dude. I'm really happy to have you here.
Hello, Werner. Very nice to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's really great to be part of your show. It's super exciting.
Cool, man. And just to get into the depth here, I mean, I've introduced you as a designer, as an interaction designer, but let's talk a little bit about your background just to contextualize this conversation a little bit. So brag a little bit.
Well, it's more of a story. I was born in Colombia. I'm Colombian by birth, and I study industrial design to begin with, but I was perhaps one of those lucky or unlucky generations that got the whole .com bubble.
Yeah.
So I learned to program websites and do web design. At that time, that was, as if you were an astronaut. It was the most cool job on earth. And I never really got to do, besides my internship, I never got to do any industrial design work, really. I was always on the digital spaces. And at a certain point, after working for a bank doing digital design work, I realized there's got to be a profession. There's got to be a master's that's allowing us to do, what now it's called interaction design. And back at that time, there was like only 5 schools in the world so that were actually doing this kind of projects. So you had MIT Media Lab, Carnegie Mellon. In Europe, you have Ibrea, which is an Italian school that was acquired by the Domus Academy, the RCA, the Royal College of Arts, and Umeå in Sweden, up north. And so I moved to Sweden. I study interaction design. And because at that time there was such a small community, you had access to anyone, and we had the opportunity to do different things. So my journey, which is crazy, started by a conversation with a PhD from the MIT Media Lab. Back then, John Underkoffler was one of those researchers in the area of human-computer interaction, and he was well known because he was the chief scientist of the film Minority Report. And actually I had an interaction because my master thesis was about doing gesture interaction in cars. And
Wow.
that's, I'm talking a billion years ago. And so time goes by. I graduated. I went to Vodafone. I lived in Germany, London, so on. And throughout that process, actually working at Vodafone, we reached out to the back then former European director of Oblong here. Her name is Marianne, and she invited me to the studio, and I realized, well, this is fantastic. The whole idea of building a platform that can see and understand movement, and at that time we called that a spatial operational environment. So beyond computers, starting into the physical world and what goes on. And then the opportunity presented for me to jump into Oblong. That brought me to Barcelona, and I spent at Oblong like a year and a half. What a fantastic experience. I work, with multiple entities and so on. And like many companies in the world, many startups, Oblong needed to take this position of whether you want to be a platform or you want to be a product. And obviously, product
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. Platforms typically something hard to monetize, especially in the early stages. So that transition made a lot of people leave the company for good in good terms. But then at that time, I found a small company here in Catalonia, and that's my co-founder Marcel. Actually, I met first his colleagues, and they had created this initial concept of a gesture technology, and the company was called Fesulab. And so we decided with my wife to invest in this company and sort of start spawning this whole thing. Moving forward, we get to 2015, 2016. We've already merged the two companies. We've created GESTOOS, and then we get accelerated by 500 startups.
Wow.
And that's a completely different game. Yeah, we realize, okay, this is serious. We need to now to get serious funding. We have to be fully dedicated into this specific project.
Yeah.
But what are we doing, right? What is the big question? And our question here was, how do we get to that point that we are going to be able to allow computers to see and understand human behavior, right? And the big question is that you see back then, it was still a little bit like nobody really knew there was going to be autonomous cars yet. 10 years ago, that was still kind of like a myth. Today, it's still a little bit like not everybody believes there are autonomous vehicles, but there are already level 3 autonomous cars out there. So we're giving this huge responsibility to machines, right?
Yeah.
When you're sitting in a plane, the pilot is operating the computer that is operating the plane. So literally, the pilot is not flying the plane. The plane is being flown by a computer. Cars are becoming autonomous, and they will get to a point that they're fully autonomous. So they will be taking responsibilities, and they will taking actions for you. And spaces are becoming more and more smart and intelligent. Particularly with COVID, we see the acceleration in digital transformation and how that's reshaping retailers and everything like that. So in essence, we're just giving all our biggest responsibility to machines. Now the question is it important for machines to see and understand humans? Ultimately, what we want is for us to be better, to have a better quality of life,
Yeah.
and if we're doing that, how is it that machines are not able to see and understand humans? And then you start thinking about the serious questions like, wait, but isn't it nonverbal communication like 80% of everything? Like it's so different when you meet someone and the expressions of that person, whether the voice is tight or not, you can get so much just from the physical expressions of someone, just from the
Exactly.
gesturing of that person. We're not allowing that for machines, so they're going to be brutal. And in the world of AI, which is the world that is unfortunately going to accelerate and become a much larger reality than what it is today, what does that entail? What will be the responsibility for these machines? If they're not going to be human enough, the kind of decisions that we'll be making will be against humanity, and that is just not acceptable. So this initiative with GESTOOS, which is that seed of like trying to make machines see and understand the world, has become a really, really large, heavy question, and is giving us purpose to just try to really make this happen. So now this is going to be a long, very long journey. I was not expecting it to be this long, to be honest.
Yeah. How long has it been going now? Like, I mean, the thing is, like, just in a time span, because you know, a Minority Report is one thing. I've known you for probably a solid 5 years already. It's been a journey, right? This kind of this like is it called an industry, or you know?
It is. I would call it an industry, and it's the AI industry, which
Yeah,
is eventually going to become everything. So the research is it's probably 14 years
yeah,
or more. It's a combination of Marcel, my co-founder, the CTO, his PhD, plus the work from two other contributors, and also my work that starts from 2002 2006, that gets reflected into this whole thing. So there's been a lot of work just before we got to the point that this
yeah.
thing is actually real. And that's the crazy part. That's what you, as a designer, never get to fully grasp. Is the idea that those designs will take a really long time to be in the market, and sometimes it had nothing to do with the technology. Technology might be there, but it's the simple adoption.
Oh
It's
yeah.
just like people just don't want that at that specific time, or there's something else going on, or it's just a little hype and it disappears, right? So it's a lot of factors. For us, when we launched this, there was Microsoft Kinect back in the time. Microsoft Kinect still existed,
Yeah.
but they demonstrated that there was no market traction for games and gestures. They tried to push it into industry, and industry required a different set level of robustness that was not available at that time, and that could only be achieved with computer vision, AI, and training a lot of new data. But it still was going to be really expensive. So that's where the innovation happened for us, and that's how we got into that whole space. But yeah, all in all, it's
It's not a
14
joke.
plus years.
Because
No.
like the thing is, like, what I want to ask you is like this. I find that there's sometimes like there's certain technologies that are underappreciated, right? Because
Okay.
the thing is, like, when we were joking about this before, you know, and I'm also guilty, is like when I think about gesture interface and interactions, I think about Minority Report, and I think about the sexy UI and things flying around. But I didn't really give much thought, or I take for granted the fact that it's actually about the kind of understanding the gestures, understanding the interaction, kind of reading the person's facial kind of expression. What is this
Yeah.
person doing? Do you like, first of all, like, I mean, I don't think you disagree with that, but then the other question I want to ask is that, is it making it tougher for you to run the company because people don't really
Right.
understand that little gap, that that's actually not about the sexy interface, it's about the actual getting the computer or the sensor to see.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. For us at the beginning, we got a lot of PR. Thank you, Minority Report. Thank you, Oblong. Thank you, all those companies that contributed to that hype. And thank you for a lot of companies to get us out there. And they were always like trying things. And the first thing anybody would go in the street, a gesture interaction, they will go and wave or say something to the machine because they wanted to be as human as possible. And that was okay. But it was extremely distracting. We got a lot of projects that were about digital signage, digital experiences,
Yeah,
events, and that was fun. Let's say that was interesting, but it was never something that was super meaningful. Yeah. Ultimately, what we wanted to do was not just to create a movie where you have the iRobot guy interacting with this hologram. That's just cool. But it's you can do that in a computer with a mouse, and you're still going to be pretty okay with that, right?
yeah,
Um, what it's really key here is that same technology that's seeing your hand, the shape of your hand, and doing this gesture and transferring that to a command is the same technology that can be telling the computer this person's eating, sleeping, this person had an accident,
yeah,
this person's aging and is no longer able to do a particular movement. This person is in danger. There's an object coming toward this person. We better do something about it to
yeah,
prevent things. There's like a lot of use cases and things that could potentially unlock a different level of safety and security for everybody. And ultimately, I think that's the goal of this technology. The best interaction and the best interface is the one that simulates the closest to a human.
yeah,
And this is the fascination with artificial intelligence that when we started studying and learning in the same school, we did a lot of work on basically graphic user interfaces. That's the bulk of our work has always been GUIs. And then you get into a point where like there's no longer that thing. You're not drawing anything. because your interface is voice and the commands are something that you're not even seeing, or the interface is now a gesture or movement, and there is no interface. The machine will react to you, will respond to you. How do you design for that, right? That's like, okay, I need to do theatrics, I need to do a lot of different elements. It's like a completely new territory, but it's the essence of what, in interaction design you will call the human computer interaction. Is
Yeah.
how is the human interacting with a machine, and as long as it's not cumbersome or complicated, and the closer it gets to a human, the more intuitive ultimately it becomes, and that's the goal. So it's crazy. Our profession ultimately is taking away the designer. It's bringing a human, which, let's say, a humanoid in the sense of an AI that is interacting with the person. And that's inevitable. I mean, there are people that go very political about it. They go like, oh, but are you going to kill a lot of jobs and go destroy the world? Other people go like, no, this is great and fantastic. See how many, stupid jobs that we have today that are not needed. Can we be replaced? And there's like so many levels. But regardless of whether you sit here or there, it's a reality. And it's because we live in a capitalistic environment, and companies ultimately
Yeah.
will opt for automation, for AI technologies, for reduction of cost, for a lot of efficiencies, and that's just a reality. So you have to stand up and say, okay, where am I sitting right now? Should I just go with the flow? You know, it's not like you're going to stop using your mobile phone. It's not like you're not going to have GUIs or UIs. It's just that the design of that might not be a person, might actually be a machine.
Yeah.
And then what's my role, right?
Yeah.
And that's a yeah.
It's interesting. I actually had a session earlier today with a bunch of innovation people, and someone actually, like a quite a senior person, brought up the fact that they feel like people need to start rather trying to embrace some of these new technologies rather than kicking against it. And I think the word embrace is interesting, because if you kind of go with the flow and kind of see what it offers and then see where you can add value,
Yeah.
or how it can actually help you do stuff, because ultimately we are creating these things to make life easier, or at least get us to do stuff, or free us up to do other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And crazy enough, we have created a system that is all around work, and work in theory gives meaning for people's lives. But these technologies are making our work so efficient that we're claiming back our lives, and that's really exciting times, at least for our children. So the whole concept of working 8 hours, it might be actually completely changed. The whole idea of working at an office, it's already been challenged 100% with the pandemic. For certain industries, there are other industries where you cannot do that. Um, and so what happens next is that, okay, this is, if we look at it from a positive point of view, we're reinventing humanity as we know it. And as simple as that. It's
Yeah.
about a different level of experience. It's about a different level uh, of of life quality, and a completely new paradigm in terms of how you work, how you live, how you educate yourself, how you reinvent yourself. And the other thing is that the facilitation process is going to be magnificent. Having said all of that, the ridiculous amount of problems that are coming because of these technologies,
Yeah.
which is not set up to do anything about
And
that, right? So,
it kind of brings me to, and you might see the question there from Jeff Parks, that he's quite curious to understand if there's a discussion around the ethics that is around this products. And I know that is also a big question that's going around. It's like,
yeah.
you're teaching a thing to see, it can be used for different things. Like I mean, I don't necessarily think that you'll be able to solve the ethics question. It's probably an ongoing question, but is this something that you guys think about?
Absolutely. It's a big question, and it's the future of designers. Tell you what, there nobody thought, if I told you 20 years ago that people were going to be taking photos of themselves and making money, you would go like, it's bananas. It's absolutely crazy. It's never going to happen. Why would you pay for somebody taking photos of themselves doing stuff? Well, now we have Instagrammers, and it's an entire industry, and nobody denies that, right? Um, well, there will be. Um, I wouldn't call it ethicalists, but people specialized in how to educate those machines, how to educate those different processes, so that the machine does not make the mistakes that could be potentially damaging for industries. the role of the designer is becoming more and more and more a facilitator, almost like an educator, because AIs, they're not that smart, not that intelligent. They are basically models that are being trained on a specific data set. And there's just sufficient data set to make something happen in a very cool way, but it's not enough to replace the millions of years
Yeah.
of human history and the information that is in our cells, in our bodies, and so on. So that process needs to be analog still, and that's going to be a conversation. So designers will become those people that come in and basically talk about ethics, talk about more completely different, set of follow questions and criticize the implications of those designs. Right now, we talk about user experience. We talk about, whether something's useful or not useful. Our work when we do research is about identifying, pain points, identifying usability features, identifying the usefulness of the product. Well, our role in the future would be about understanding people's fears, understanding people's consequences, understanding biases, because data is biased by nature. And so none of that is something we have been educated for, but it's something that we need to actually take into responsibility. To the point, Werner, that we're going to launch here in Barcelona one of the first. It's a master's for designers. It's about human artificial intelligence. So we want to
Wow. Okay.
rethink entirely how you design for AIs, because it's not like plug and play with the current structure of education. You have to have a different skill set, and you also have to have a different type of questions. And ethics is a huge block. It's a huge block because data is biased. You cannot always get the answer from
It's true,
the
right?
data that you have.
Yeah.
There'll always be something missing. So if your AI is biased, the computer is flawed. The controller is flawed, and that's it. You're starting with the wrong foot. But that's today world. People get credits on algorithms and biases already existing in the banking industry. People get recruited or not by AI models that are being run in software, HR software today. Companies are making decisions, Wall Street decisions, based on predictions that algorithms are doing in Wall Street inside of there's like so many things going on right now in terms of artificial intelligence that we can actually say, hold on, we're already in the wrong direction. There's nobody saying what will be the consequences. What would this mean for anyone, right? And so we need to step in. I think it's part of a responsibility of designers to actually step into that space. And that here's the crazy thing: you might actually say in the future, "Oh, I work on ethics," and companies will pay you money for doing ethical design, and
Yeah.
that's going to be interesting.
I can see that happening. I think it's already starting because it's like a huge topic for a lot of clients that I work with, and I think there's a lot of pressure to do that. But it's kind of interesting because you're making some bold statements about the future of design, right? Because in a way, I think you've mentioned to me before that you say and I kind of agree with it. Like a lot of the work that we do as designers these days can actually be automated. You can probably get artificial intelligence to do that job. And now what you're saying is like, okay, cool. And like you spoke before, embracing the technology. That happens. I have a new job. I'm now the chief ethics officer, or
Yeah, exactly.
But that also puts a challenge on the table, and that's probably why you guys creating that program is that, like the design education is going to have to evolve also, right? You're going to have to
Yeah,
understand that technology a little bit better. You're going to have to deep
yeah.
dive other topics that is probably not your cup of tea at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. There's going to be, I think we all need to go through that process. And that's going to be part of the new future, is that maybe we're going to reinvent ourselves multiple times in our life, in our lives. And in my case has been the case. I studied industrial design. I really never did anything with a career besides, an internship in a small company. I jumped into, the web, and, I went through the whole process of the dot-coms, then went into the mobile space. Now I would say that I'm more of a technologist than a designer, and I work a
Yeah.
lot with computer vision. And now all of a sudden I know so much about computer vision just because of the amount of exposure that I have with my company. But because of that, and because of dealing with data, then you start realizing, wow, this is so biased and so wrong. And you start thinking about the future and realizing, well, we're not set for this, and this is the direction that is going. How do I explain to my kids that, because of a particular bias data set, that machine is not operating it naturally for them, or is being discriminating? And
Yeah.
like, how do you take that back? It's like you can't. Once already rolled out and it's growing in numbers, it's really difficult to pull it back. And there are scary moments, like the situation that happened with Facebook, Google, and all these companies around privacy. They started claiming from the beginning that there was not such a thing as privacy, that the whole world has to be open and we all need to share. And then now we know that that has really critical implications, that you can manipulate people's information, and you can actually manipulate people's opinions, and
Yeah.
that can actually change polls and voting systems and turn religions upside down and break countries apart. And that started from that sort of concept of like, no, we share everything, everything's open, but what if it gets in the wrong hands? And what even the good guys start doing their bad things because they just are promoting something that they never dare themselves to look into the future and say, like, what if, right? And so who's going to take that role? Is it going to be, the psychologists of the future, the cognitive scientists, the futurologists, the engineers, the designers? Who knows? But that's I think one of the areas where design needs to step into.
But
Um,
this, like the question I have to ask you, like you just mentioned Facebook, and I don't want to be attacking Facebook here, but like the one thing that I think is like, maybe it's me being biased now, but I'm going like, I don't know if Facebook knew where this was going to go either.
right.
Like at the beginning, I mean, this guy with the hoodie and flip flops, all of a sudden he's like the king of ethics in the world. And I'm going, please save us. Because, and I'm going like,
Yeah.
like, how does, I wonder what's going to happen in the future, because I think what's unfortunately happening is that a lot of people are going, okay, this has happened because we had the Analytica thing happen. Now history repeats itself. So the future, when cars see, they're going to just drive over old ladies and stuff like that because they don't like them. I wonder where this is going to go in a sense of like trying to rectify it. I mean, I think the one option you said is to say we're going to have to evolve how we look at design. Like how do we
Yeah.
how we train designers? But like what else can we put in place to make sure? Maybe that's a tough question to ask you, because
It's a
that's
super
like,
tough question, but I love it. It's a great question. And tell you what, I'm going to try to split this question into two parts. The first part is that we don't know, because obviously we have not been able to create methodologies that help us accurately, or let's say semi-accurately, predict um, the cause and effect of the different things that we do. Yeah, it's not embedded into anyone's business plan to define what will be the implications of your idea. Never. Yeah.
yeah,
And so this is why we have nuclear weapons, because the scientist says, like, but what if, right? If I break the thing, I can make electricity, but at the same
yeah,
time I can, destroy an entire city. Well, let's do both, right? That's a little bit like what the direction that we take in humanity. Facebook is no different. It's like, okay, everybody shares the information. We have a better internet where everybody shares everything. Oh, but wait, I can actually, now that I know how people think, what they like, I can actually use this as a weapon and turn their opinions into the opinions that I want them to have.
yeah,
So no idea, Werner. It's really difficult to take those two directions. So now what happens is that, all right, let's take a step back. And that's the second part of my answer, is how do you design for that? Yeah. And here is where it comes to the part of where I said, well, designers are not, we don't have the skill set yet, but we can get to that skill set. And we can learn it from other industries. When they're creating films, when story creators are writing characters, they discuss in depth what's the personality of the character. Is it going to be likable? Is it going to be bad? Is it going to be honest? Is it going to be dishonest? So the AIs are going to be more like characters. They're more like almost semi pseudo humans, and we're
yeah.
going to be finding those characteristics. Yeah. So if you tell me, let me ask you a question back. If you were to describe Facebook, not Mark Zuckerberg, that's a different story, but Facebook itself as a character, how do you define it? Or what's the closest thing for you to Facebook?
I mean, like I'm just gonna say what just popped to mind. For me, it's like a curious old Polish lady that looks out the window. Like we have this joke here in Poland that we don't need the like Chinese cameras like when they do. We have
Right.
old ladies looking out the window. Like they know exactly what's going on every time. They see what's happening, all the action. So that's kind of like, I don't know. Hopefully, I didn't destroy your.
No, perfect, right? Because it wasn't designed. Facebook wasn't designed as a character. There's no personality. There,
Yeah,
there
you're
was
right.
no there was no reason for Facebook to say like, oh, wait, I'm not going to do that. Like the AI would not think for itself and says like, no, we don't do that, right? That would be a design decision, right? So for instance, in
Good
GESTOOS, we
point.
decided, okay, okay, we deal with computer vision. Oh yeah, privacy, shit. Wait a minute, but what if we just take a stand and we call this privacy by design? Full stop. Privacy by design means that I'm not going to detect identities of anyone. My data is going to be vector data, is going to be at the model level. So in order for you to hack me, you first need to hack the camera and get the image. I don't even read the image. I build a vector on top of that image,
Yeah.
extract the metadata, and put it in my model, mathematical model. What do you do with that? Just going to get a number. So privacy by design helps. It's a principle. Might not be perfect, but it's a principle. It helps. Now that's a design principle. If I was Facebook and I was going to redesign Facebook to the 2.0, I would say, let's not exploit people. That's something that we just don't do. So we're going to build a very secure algorithm, and the AI should be able to say, like, wait. Okay, Analytica, why do you need the information of all these other people?
Yeah.
If
Whoa.
you're trying
Yeah.
to achieve this bit, why do you need all of that additional stuff? You don't need that, right? They would have had that secure from the system point of view. The system would have just blocked it. And then says, like, wait, why are you trying to ping a specific type of news to a person? That might make that person biased because you're building a little world. No, I have a design principle from Facebook. It's called openness. We're going to show everything from everybody. And the system encourages that. And so that personality is different. It's no longer the old lady that has its own opinion and doesn't talk to anybody staring at it. This one is somebody like, hey, Joe, you're going to fall down there. Watch out. Like, be like the nice New Yorker, perhaps, sitting in the window that stares at everybody, but it's super friendly and helpful, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm just brainstorming with you here. But that's the thing. That's how design can approach these problems. That's how we can brainstorm around ethics. And the idea that we have now with this masters, I have a fantastic team. We have, a specialist on ethics. We've got a futurologist, so someone that's actually specialized in building future scenarios. Cognitive scientists. It's a fantastic team. And one of the ideas that we have is to actually help people build mental models of a character and turn that into a mathematical model that is in the system and test it, right? And so
Awesome.
you can actually define those principles, and then design becomes a different thing. We're not talking about like great, the traditional principles of design where you have, things laid out in a particular way and so on. We talk about affordance. We talk so many really fancy words when it comes to design principles. Now our design principles are going to be slightly different. They're going to be questions, and they're going to be whether is this good or bad, and what does it mean to be good or bad. Is it inclusive, right? And then it's truly inclusive because then your data sets, they can be non-biased from the get-go. The AI will tell you, well, there's not enough Polish people here. There's way too many Spanish folks, or there's way too many people of color. It does not matter, but the AI takes those principles, the system's designed through these
Okay. Yeah.
principles, changes the whole conversation. But we're not set up for that. No, we never did an exercise of designing different characters and playing those characters in scenarios where you can actually see what will be the outcome of that character and so on. And so cars will become AIs. They're more than cars. They're like we just came back from the Car HMI show, and they were saying, is it really a car when it doesn't have a steering wheel? It's more like a robot that's moving you from A to
It's
B.
true, right?
Like, is it really when you not have the steering wheel? Can we call it a car, or is it something else? And then the AI is in there because it's already using voice, it's using computer vision, and people want to have more than what vehicles offer these days. So that becomes an entertainment center. So that like the OEMs are going like, whoa, wow, this is just another territory, right? So if you're Apple, you're better suited to do the part of the experience of the car than if you're Mercedes. So they need to reinvent themselves. So what do you do as a designer? Well, you create this AI character, and you build it into your brand, and you added some values. And so I don't know, I'm making an example here, but let's say
Yeah.
that BMW was all about the driving experience. Forget about that because there's no driving experience, but it's going to be about the experience driven by a BMW. The BMW could be this really nice person that is taking care of you, your family, your mood, your emotions. I don't know, brainstorming here, but that's the idea.
Yeah.
It's
And
complete.
I like the idea of characters, right? Because I mean, of course, there's a lot of questions here, and we're not going to solve it on the coffee break with two guys just riffing, right? And I think it's like as long as the conversation happens like we're doing, I think it's important, right? But the other thing that I like about what you said about the characters, the characterization of this, and building in a character is that that you have the choice to hang out with people. So I like to hang out with you and Andrea, and we because you're cool people, and
Yeah.
I can choose to hang out with a certain artificial, like if I buy a product, a car, or whatever. If
Right.
I understand the character of that artificial intelligence, maybe there will be choice in the future
Yeah.
which company I go for, what artificial intelligent personality do I want to connect with.
Right. Exactly. And that changed branding, and that changes marketing, because now the stories are not like made up brands. No, they have to convey that personality and prove it in the product. If the product doesn't prove that it has that character, people are just not going to buy the product. So it's a completely different new story, and that's going to apply to every single level. So I know that there are being buildings, smart buildings and intelligent buildings being in all over the world. In Japan, they already have that. A lot of buildings have characters. They have an identity based on the character. So for them has been a very nice transition to turn that character into what is that building. It's a friendly, nice building. It's a cool, posh building. It's a relaxed building. It's a child-friendly building. And all of those elements start to play into what are the technologies that I put in this building.
Exactly.
If it's a place for families, we want to make it safe, we want to make it secure, but we want to make it fun and educational and so on. So then the layout of the space changes completely. So it applies for every industry, it applies for every sector, and it's actually one of the coolest areas that I think it's starting to discover, and a change for the whole design profession.
Man, this is super interesting. There's actually, I want to there's a little bit of a angle when I throw. I want to change gears and talk a little bit about the actual topic of like you, because you play this role, but like just as a quick one, Herman, like before we step off the topic of this, because I think we could actually deep dive. Like this is your game. I can see it, right? It's for yourself, for GESTOOS, and for the industry, like what's next? Because taking into account that we've just gone through a pandemic, we've all kind of felt the pain. Like where to now? Like I mean, I'm sure you guys are like full steam ahead, but what do you kind of, if you have to predict the next couple of months,
Yeah.
next year or two, what's next?
Yeah, I think digital transformation is overrated, and the companies that didn't make it, they're dead. They're dead. That's it. Because they need to think about the next level. The second thing that is inevitably going to happen is that this pandemic had two things. It was devastating for a certain amount of population and an economic sense, but it gave another opportunity to a lot of entrepreneurs to kind of mature ideas. And it's like, you can feel the waters bubbling. It's getting hotter and hotter, and things are starting to pop out, and really cool initiatives are starting to come out. And they're all about AI, all about AI. I'm finishing a master in UX. One of my students are creating an AI that is literally replacing ideation processes. It's fantastic. It's crazy. We have like so really interesting things coming out and popping out. So what to do, what needs to be done. You have to think about really reinventing yourself. Now is the time, is the chance. Um, the amount of companies that are just not going to be able to make it is incredible, and you will see very many huge companies just going down because they cannot change, and they're not set up to do that. But from a let's say a democratic point of view, what is really interesting is that there's going to be a reset, and I see it
Yeah.
happening already. It's a full-on reset, and you have 9 people startups competing with like 400,000 employee companies and beating them in the market. Like, how do it's almost unfair, right? So that's the one thing. What it meant for me, the other part of the question, and actually the topic of this thing is, um, you gotta do things that you're not comfortable with, right? So
Yeah.
for me,
Thanks for
as
the
a
segue.
designer,
Yeah.
starting a company was not a thing that was comfortable for me. And I tell you what, it's not that I wasn't ambitious or anything like that. It's like, when you're studying design, there's not a concept ever around the idea of being a CEO. Like nobody, it's not even like a thing. Yeah, you don't talk to your design, colleagues like, I'm going to be a CEO. They look at you like, what's wrong with you, right? Maybe you have your own little company, and then now maybe you have your agency. Nobody thinks about that, right? And you look at the founders or Airbnb, which are designers, and they agree with that concept. They say like, it's true. You're not even exposed to that topic, to that aspect. So if we're going to see more things happening, a lot of people have to feel the need of going into uncomfortable places and learn or get associated with folks that will contribute in that process. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was a designer that became CEO. I did not enjoy a lot of it. It was really stressful and painful, and a lot of it was out of my league. And when I got to the point that the company got sufficiently big and we got, VC money and serious funding, I was like, I just don't want to make anything by the sake of stupidity. So let's hire a professional CEO. And it's been a tremendous experience. Now we're working with a professional CEO. We have a professional CEO, and I'm very comfortable in my role as Chief Experience Officer, which
Yeah.
is more like the traditional CPO, but we use the word experience because we're in an experiential product. But that's the thing. We're not set out to do that, right? So, and it's not about doing an MBA. Even when I talk to MBA folks, they tell me, don't do an MBA. You don't need an MBA. What you're doing is better. And it's like, but I have no idea. It's like, yeah, but learn by heart, learn on the field. There's like so much theory out there that it's not going to prepare you for what's coming up. So that was for many folks, now is the time to say, why can I be good at? What area really interests me? And now let's look into the future. Can that be an AI? And that's the key question. Can this be automatic, and can it turn into something that a machine would do? And they will do it. And if the answer is yes, you will see the next generation of unicorns becoming increasingly more and more, I would say, smart and intelligent. And by the way, when I mean digital transformation is dead, it's because it's a coined term from consultancies that does not add any value. It just doesn't mean anything. All business are digital. You either exist or don't. But today, in the 21st century, all business are digital. The question is whether your industry or your company is intelligent enough in a way that is efficient for your processes that you're doing. And that's ultimately an AI. So my premonition is that every business will become an AI. Every business will be an artificial intelligence. And the nice thing about that is that there will be more of businesses. So competition will open, and we're going to start seeing some rupture on the monopolies. And I like that. I think that's needed.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited about it because I like it when things get shaken up, like the status quo gets shaken up, and it means that there's new opportunities, because any change brings new opportunities. I like the idea of what you said, is that, and I think you said it to me before when we discussed this, is that, if design becomes, because you joked about, not joked, you made a very, very strong statement saying that, and one of your students are doing it, is like ideation can be done by artificial intelligence. So I'm going like, what does a designer do? Well, the designer then focuses on the experience. So like crafting and really focusing and honing in on what that experience is then important. I like the idea of what you said about bringing in ethics and understanding ethics, and because that needs to be designed. That you don't want to necessarily have an IA or artificial intelligence try and actually design that. You have to step in and set down the character, like the personality.
Yeah.
Superman.
No, I agree. I think to future for current students, people that are getting out into the market, it's a little bit unfair because the competition is fierce. But I think what they need to now really understand is they need to start to feel comfortable doing things that are uncomfortable. My personal experience was I was an industrial designer that ended up doing digital design, that ended up, becoming a CEO, working on business more than on design, and then ultimately becoming a technologist. And now I'm deep in, AI to the core. And who knows what else will happen next time we have a a conversation in a few years. I will tell you, well, we made it to the moon now, Werner.
I hope so.
We're here now. The future is the moon. I don't know, but that's the point, that we will be able to reinvent ourselves multiple times.
Yeah.
And each story doesn't need to be a success. There's all this fixation with success, and that's not important. It is actually that journey is what really triggers that richness in your conversations and so on. So success, by definition, is how rich your life is. It shouldn't be how much money you make or or I don't know how many titles you have. It's really that
Amazing.
richness. It's like how many people you interacted with, how many experience, how many folks you touched, how many things, how did you contribute to the future, and how we can shape new things. Yeah, that's where I believe that we should all
Herman,
go.
you're a legend. I've taken a lot out of this. It's super interesting, and I like some of the things that you put down because you can. I mean, people can debate with you, agree or disagree, but I think some of the things you are saying is super important, no matter where you stand. I mean, the thing about ethics, about putting characters, but then also the personal challenge of like putting yourself into uncomfortable spaces. I think that's something that we all need to do. It's like if you have to make a key decision, go in the direction that makes you feel really uncomfortable, like being a CEO.
Yeah.
And then also like the idea of like defining success, like you have to succeed to have a rich, fulfilling life. That's not necessarily true. Like you can have, you can learn so much out of just doing something, yeah, and not
Yeah.
having the regret of not doing
Yeah,
it.
and you measure happiness on other values, and I think that's what's really important.
Awesome.
It's yeah.
Anyways, Herman, it's time for me to say thank you to you. You need to go and play with the little one.
Yeah, I can
He's
hear.
probably
Okay.
he's calling, and Andrea's been gracious enough to lend you to us for a little bit. So I say thank you to her as well. Listen,
Exactly.
just for someone watching this, if they want to get hold of you, where can people follow you, sneak up, stalk you, get hold of you? What is the best places to go?
Yeah, LinkedIn, Twitter, my email as well. Everything's public. Or gestos.com. If you just go to gestos.com, you'll find my name and email right there and write me on. Happy to connect. I'm very open. So yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
you even come onto live streams with dodgy South Africans. So it shows me that you're willing to help anybody out. So go check out their website. By the way, the YouTube channel is also great. There's a couple of videos there. We just gave a taste in the stream, and then also on Vimeo there's a nice GESTOOS a channel also that gives a bit of a peek behind the scenes of what the guys are doing. It's super interesting. Herman, I just want to say thank you once again, sir, and hopefully we'll
Thank you.
reconnect to talk about the moon very soon.
Definitely, definitely. We
Okay,
should talk about the moon.
cool, man. See you
All right.
later.
Have a good
Ciao.
day. Thank you
Bye
for
bye.
everything. Bye bye.
Well, how amazing was that? Having Herman on. Hopefully you found it interesting. And as I mentioned before, like please jump into the comments and let me know what you thought. And also if you agree or disagree, like Jeff mentioned, Jeff Parks came in and mentioned about the ethics of artificial intelligence. Maybe you don't agree as much with Herman as he is passionate about artificial intelligence, but that is a conversation that we can have, right? So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm prepping and setting up for my segment with Tammy Gulaloob. She's waiting in the background there, and I'm going to press a button. And if I press this button, she might appear on the screen. Let's see. Tammy, it worked.
Hey,
Yeah, there you are. I have
hey,
you back.
Werner.
I just to fix my layout a little bit. There you go. How are you doing? Oh, I can't hear you.
I'm good. How are you?
Tammy, you know what we're going to have to do? I think we're going to have to do the log
Can't hear
out
me.
and log back in because the audio is delayed. Yeah, your audio.
How's
Can
that?
No, it's still delayed. Can you log out and log back in again? Sorry, like we did last time. Something strange is going on.
Okay.
Thank you. So Tammy's going to log back in. There's something weird going on when she logs in and the audio is not synced up. So that's what I'm hearing. So if you're not hearing that, let me know because I don't want to like mess her around. The other thing is while I'm waiting for her to log in, boom, this arrived in the week. Designed to Change by the guys from the Event Design Collective. It's their new book. When I did my first stream, they actually showed the new book coming up. We had a pre-publication version of it, but super interesting. I'm hoping to get one or two of them on to come talk to me about this book because it's about designing events and looking at the event horizon and all these kind of interesting things. I've got stuck into it. Very cool. So Design for Change. A bit of an advert while I'm waiting for Tammy to come back. So let's see if it works this time. Tammy, how's that?
I don't know. You tell me.
I still have
There's
a
a
bit of an
delay.
audio delay. Yeah, there's a delay in audio, which is very strange. I don't know why that's happening. Is the internet gods against us today, Tammy?
I don't know, Werner. Should I try my microphone
You know what? It's
instead,
better.
maybe?
It's better. It's better. I think it's working now. Let's roll.
Oh, maybe I shouldn't move.
Yeah, just stay like that. Stay right
Okay.
like that. Okay.
Okay.
No, jokes aside, it looks like I don't know why it happens. I mean, I'm gonna check the video afterwards as well because I'm hearing the delay. Maybe it's not in the stream.
Maybe
We'll see.
it's you.
Maybe it's you, me, not you.
Maybe it's me, not you.
We'll have to see. So, Tammy, let me quickly change gear here
Yeah.
and go over to our little space of conversation. You have a new podcast out, Tammy Gulaloob, Work from the Inside Out podcast. If you haven't listened to it, what's wrong with you? Jokes. So, Tammy, you've got a new episode with Michael Friedman. Maybe you want to tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about what's happening with Michael.
Well, Michael is a very interesting man. He has had several careers and claims that he didn't really know what he wanted to do until he was 55 years old.
Wow.
I know. But he had a career in sales and tech, and then he decided he had a young family and he wanted to be home as a dad more often. So he moved out of corporate and decided to teach. So he taught high school for several years, and now he's running his own company, and he's doing a lot of work supporting coaches and both supporting coaches and providing coaching, and doing a lot of work around helping other people with their careers. So you really have to listen to him talk about it. He's got a lot of really interesting ideas about how to help other people engage in their careers. And some of his ideas are really well thought out. I don't know that I could even describe to you exactly how he's going about all of it. He's got a really interesting perspective, but he's doing some really cool stuff. How's
Awesome.
that for a real professional description? He's
Thanks
doing
for
some really cool stuff.
You should listen to the show.
Yeah, listen to the show. Don't ask me.
So tell me,
Oh, okay, yeah.
and
Anthony.
Anthony is the victim, or what is it? What is the opposite of a victim? The winner.
Benefactor.
The benefactor. I like that word.
Benefactor.
The benefactor of your amazing insights this week. So just before we get into Anthony's story,
Yes.
I just want to encourage anybody watching this. Remember, Tammy is an executive and career coach. She has amazing insights, not only about LinkedIn, but about careers in general, how you build your business, your business as an entrepreneur, and also have a book coming out soon. And if you want Tammy, the person up there, to have a look at your LinkedIn profile, please drop me a note, a direct message if you feel a bit shy, or maybe message Tammy. And we're happy to have a look at your profile. And remember, your profile is helping other people also to grow, because we've seen people change their profiles as we go through this experience. And it's amazing. It's like you can unlock so many opportunities just by doing a few tweaks. So
yeah.
I should stop now.
It's really fun. People really seem to enjoy having somebody look at their profile and even just suggest a few tweaks, and it gives them another perspective on themselves. And I try to say nice things too, because people have the most amazing experiences, and Anthony is certainly one of those people.
Exactly.
And I did have a chance to look at Anthony's profile before we went on today, just so that I could get a little familiar with it.
Tammy, if I may, can I pitch at you just quickly, just to contextualize it for the audience, what Anthony's request was, like, because usually what we ask is also like, what is your objective with your profile? so that I can hand it over to Tammy so Tammy can look through that lens. And when we asked, when Anthony reached out to us, he said there's kind of two aspects that he, number one, he's looking, I mean, he's the director of the Event Design Collective in the North American region. And they do a lot of training, but a lot of the training focuses on corporate clients, so corporate training. So he wants to gain more traction in that space, so more corporate clients. And then the other thing is he had a question for us, like, if we look at his profile, do we think the audience that he attracts knows what he's talking about? Because he lives in a world with a lot of terms and kind of insider language. And that was kind of his ask.
Yeah. So, and I probably may have a few extra questions for him that might be qualifiers for how he might think through some of my comments. My first thought, though, is his banner image above his picture. So his picture's great because it shows him kind of in action in front of the room. And I think that even though he's, the event or experience designer and the educator, that's a great picture of him as an educator. The image above, I kind of get what that is. I do get what it is, but I have to really look closely at it to really get what it is. And I'm wondering if he's trying to appeal to corporate entities that are wanting to hire him to either present or design large scale events. I get that's the feeling I got from looking at his profile. I wonder if there's another image that might grab them more. Now, this image might get someone curious, but I think that image is more appealing to other designers rather than his actual audience. And I think that sometimes you really have to think about who your audience is rather than thinking like your audience is a bunch of designers.
Yeah,
so
and
that's
yeah,
just a thought. It's just a thought. I'm not super wedded
it's interesting
to it,
though,
but
Tammy, because I mean, I've been through the same training that the organization offers, right? So before the training, I wouldn't know. I mean, I recognize the design squiggle. That's kind of a designer thing. So, but that's from a different group of people. But then
yes.
when you go through the training, after the training or during it, you'll understand what that means. And it kind of aligned,
Yep.
it plays into what you're saying is that that image might not, it draws in me who's a
Yeah,
cheap,
it drew in me too.
yeah,
But
but I'm a
I
cheap,
thought,
I'm not going to go do the training.
right, it's not going to necessarily draw in the customer or the clients that he's looking for. So that's just a thought that I have.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure, but it's a thought. Now, underneath his name there, we have experienced designer, educator, change agent. So again, experienced designer sounds like he's planning an experience for people. Again, some people may or may not. You got to watch out, even though those are very, very, regular kinds of words. You just need to know who it is that you're appealing to so that you have a clear idea what's going to mean, what is it going to mean to them if you're really trying to attract people who will be your customers. Will that mean anything to them? And then the other question, I think I might have more questions for Anthony than answers here, but hopefully the questions will give him answers.
Yeah.
So the question is two questions. One is, would you say more often that your potential clients or customers would be checking you out on LinkedIn once they already have your name? If that's the case, then it's all fine for them to take a look at your profile and see things as they are, because that is who you are as a designer in that context. However, if you're hoping that you might be able to attract some new business from people who don't know you already, then you have to think about what are the keywords that will attract people and what might they be looking for. So if you're hoping to design training events or training experiences for people, and they're going to be looking for someone with that experience, the words underneath your name are very keyword sensitive. And so you want to have the words that you think they're going to be searching for. Most corporate entities, if they're looking for someone to conduct some kind of a training, aren't going to be using keywords like experienced designer or change agent for that matter, maybe not even educator. So as much as I like those descriptors, those aren't going to attract your corporate crowd in that way. So that's a
Makes sense.
caveat if you're hoping to attract new people who don't already know you. And you want to be clear whether you're talking about experience design or event design. You have Event Design Collective as a business name, but then you say experience designer. So for people who don't know what that all means, if they're not familiar, they may get confused by those terms. So you might want to just stick to event designer, perhaps, but maybe qualify event design by some other term. I don't know. I've been thinking about this a lot lately because I am taking an intensive public speaking program where a big part of it is we are looking at how do we think about how our audience is perceiving things. So, and I think that's what Anthony's asking for here is who's your audience and how are they perceiving things?
Makes sense.
Okay. So then if we click on providing services and we see all the details, there's some, it actually takes us to another page, which is interesting. So that's a separate page.
Yeah.
And
I've
it's
not
like a
seen this
services
before.
page.
Yeah.
I haven't either, actually. It's interesting. It's a separate page. So, and it gives a little more information about, a little bit about Anthony, over 20 years helping stakeholders create meaningful connections. Again, there's some little jargon in there. Stakeholders is a word that a lot of event planners, designers might use. Not sure, maybe the corporate types would get that. But again, if you're trying to provide training, that sounds more like you're planning a networking event. So again, think about who is going to read this and what are they going to want to hire you for. If you're trying to, create a large event where you're wanting people to make those kinds of meaningful connections, that's great. Just keep it simple. Keep it as simple as possible. And let people know what it is that you bring to it. 20 years is great. And what is it that they will get when they get you? Not just what you do, but who you are. I'm always big on that. And we have that. You have your consultative and collaborative approach. I would probably put that even higher up in that paragraph.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Go back. Thanks for that new section. Yeah. I'm going to have to look into that. That's interesting.
Yeah, that looks new to me. Okay. Let's see now. We should go down further.
Okay.
Highlights. These are things Anthony's interested in. These are highlights. So things you can reach out to Anthony for, which is great. And then these are the things that you and Anthony have in common. Alt MBA, and this is an event that Anthony recently attended. So these are all good pieces of information just to know. And
good stuff.
Then we have some featured areas. Now I was curious about this image. So I'm wondering if you want this to look like this. I'm guessing you don't, Anthony.
Yeah.
Yes, you think?
Was it
You think it's
same on your
No,
was it the same on your
do you think?
computer?
Yes,
Same.
it was like that on
Yeah.
my computer. Yeah. So I was curious when we brought it up whether it would look like this on yours as well. So I think, yeah, I think that's something you want to take care of. So,
He's gonna get a spanking from the brand police. That's the
ooh,
event design logo.
I know what it is. Either that or he wanted it to look like a banana or something. I don't know. But yeah, so it did look like that on my computer as well. So I don't know how many things he hasn't featured. It looked like on my computer he only had 2, or was
It's
there
only
more?
2,
No,
yeah.
that was it. Okay.
It's
So
a
I
talkie
thought that
gate.
I like the other image here. I
Yeah.
like the fact that he had another image here and that it was a fairly recent, must have been pre-COVID. All those people sitting close together without
So
masks
happy.
on. So that's cool. So that's good to just get an image of a group of people at an event. That's a good thing.
Back to the
And I would
banana.
add more.
Yeah,
I would add more
because he's
things
done more.
there.
He's a
I'm
prolific.
sure he has.
You can't stop him from speaking.
Well, there you go. So
He needs
it'd
more
be great
here.
to have more photos, even some videos
Yeah.
would be great.
No, he's a man
I mean, this
about town.
is what you want. You want people to see you in action. And that's why I think the image up above, the banner, we don't have to go back up to it.
Oh, okay.
But I think you just want to show, you can show, this is the kind of business that you're in. You can show people what you do. That's the beauty of it. And now we see your activity. And I noticed when I looked at your profile earlier that you've got a number of things that you've shared, which is great. And either things you've posted or things that you've shared or commented on, which is all wonderful. So keep up that great activity. And you've got over 3,000 followers. That's wonderful too. Keep adding to your network.
Yeah.
So you got a nice variety of things that you're involved with. It's great. Let's see, what else do we have here?
Do you want to see more activity? Do I need to open this up?
Sure. Yeah, I'm always curious to see what else.
What's happening?
Because under activity, you got all kinds of different things. So that's just something he liked. Okay.
More likes.
More likes, more likes. Oh, comments. He liked his own thing.
Yeah, he's commented.
He liked his own post. That's good. I see that a lot lately. People like their own posts. I've seen it, or I've seen even people love their own posts.
Look at him here in his little design studio. Well, I don't know, Tammy, he was on the show. Like, he was actually one of my guests. And I still get comments from people about his little studio. He's got cameras in there. It's like it's like a man cave for a designer. He even has cameras that follow him around. And I think he needs to play on that a little bit. It's really...
Well, no wonder he likes his own posts. He's got
I would like it too.
Him, so.
So I mean, here's one of, like, he's on a podcast here, so you can maybe add that to his featured space.
Yeah, all of that should be showing up right on his profile. We shouldn't have to click to find an image like this, because this just gives you a sense of his abilities and his, that he's comfortable with different kinds of media. So that's great. Yeah,
and
I like that. Every event has.
If you don't listen to him, he's going to give you a slap. Look at that photo.
Wow.
You see,
yeah,
like, he's
true.
very intense.
I wouldn't want to meet him in a dark alley. But I like this quote here. Every event has to have a purpose. I think that would be compelling to a potential customer. Yep. So I like that. Yeah, that quote should actually be front and center. That could even be in his banner area. Every event has to have a purpose. How many people go to events and walk away and say,
the biscuits were stale, coffee was terrible.
Yeah, I got some free pen and another tote bag I don't need. So
it's so true.
It
Right.
is. How many tote bags can one person have, right?
Yeah.
So I think that that speaks to a lot of things. So yeah, I think the visuals would be great on his profile. So let's go back to his profile actually.
Let's go there. Oops.
There we go. And now his about section. So I think, Anthony, I think your about section needs to be a little higher up because there's some really, really good copy in here. Proudly known as an instigator, creator, disruptor, and change agent. That speaks volumes about you. That's great. So let's see it visually, but also let's see it in these words. And Anthony, you can use I statements here. This is something that a lot of people have been talking about lately, that in your own profile, you can talk about it as if you are talking
Ah,
about yourself. I've been hearing about this a lot lately, that you don't need to talk about yourself in the third person. So that's something for you to consider.
that's actually a good one. That's something I was wondering about as well. Like the I
Because
statement thing, yeah.
look, it's your profile, you own it. So it's like you're talking to the person directly. You can say, people call me an instigator, a creator, a disruptor and change agent, and I'm proud of it. I've been doing it for 20 years. I love helping event stakeholders use technology to create meaningful and memorable connections amongst event attendees. You know, um, I'm I'm true to innovation, and I love to push the bar. I love bringing about possibility and bravely challenging the status quo. You can say all of that about yourself.
It's
That's my
true.
opinion. I'm sticking to it. I think that um, you can own it. You don't need to talk about yourself as if you're not you.
Perfect.
So, are we in one of those situations where,
Let's see what the iPad shows us. Yeah, there's more.
aha, there we go. Good. So now we have, oh, I love this. So we've got under his director of North America for Event Design Collective, we've got an event canvas explainer video. Wonderful. So I like the fact that there's a video embedded there and that there's a really good explanation of what the Event Design Collective is. So that's great. That's great. And so this gives you sort of an idea of what the collective is. I think that the other thing that talks about how behavior changes as a result of having participated in the event. Okay. I would I would also say what would be really cool if you could have this either a video embedded also underneath this item or up above. It'd be really cool to have a video testimonial from someone who has participated in one of your events, who'd be willing to speak and say what are some of the behavior changes that occurred as a result of participating in one of your events. Or if you could somewhere talk about some of the, some examples of the impact of your events. Really talk, don't just talk about it as if it's this thing you do, this thing that happens. Show people how it happens. Demonstrate it. Now, I'm
Nice.
sure that you have a website that does all that, but this may be this may also be the website people go to. So I would definitely share more here to sort of say, this is great, and I want to know just a little bit more.
Okay.
All right, very good, very good.
There's some examples of his work here
Yeah,
and his other previous employer.
that's great. Now, what are those just below in his previous?
These
Are those
this content here, I can click on it. I think it's videos.
videos? I didn't know what those little symbols were there.
Oh, some of it's images. Yeah, it's images.
Okay.
And it's got captions. You just can't see it. Sorry, Tammy. It's like because
Okay,
it's zoomed
that's all
in.
right. I
Yeah.
was just curious what it was. I think it's great that he's included some images. I don't think everything has to be a video, but I like that. I like that very much that he's included that. That's great. You know, another thing you can do, Anthony, if you want, you can get rid of the months and just have the years of employment. I don't think you necessarily have to whittle it down to months. You've been employed long enough that just, you know, you can make it clear, you know, that you were in one place for 4 years, another place for 3 years. It's fine. Up to you. The other thing I just wanted to mention, this is just a little distraction for me, is that underneath your current role and your role before that, you put permanent full time underneath. I'm not sure why you do that. Is there a reason why you do that? Would somebody question that you're not full time? Would somebody wonder about that? You know, I I'm not sure why you would say permanent full time underneath these roles. I think they're just what you're doing. I don't know that you
Yeah.
have to clarify it. In fact, it makes me say, oh, permanent full time. Oh, okay. I wasn't really wondering about that. You know, I just know that you're doing this work and you've done it for many years. I really don't care about that. But maybe you have a reason why you've put that there. I just think it's an extra detail that's not necessary. You know, I want to know what you've done, not anything more than that. That's
Whoa.
my opinion. Yeah, this is great. This is all great. It's all
Lots of
good.
info. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, some of this. Wait. So we. He's talking about what we do. Um. So that's great. Just make sure you're owning some of this stuff, Anthony. This is your profile. If you want to have a business profile, this is a business you used to work for. But just understand this, that this is a profile. This is your profile. This is Anthony's profile. So, you know, really, this previous role that you were in, it shouldn't be about we. It should either be I or what you did in those roles that you were in. Um, that would be that would be my take on that. It wouldn't be that you are talking about the company as much as what you did with, you know, you can put a couple of lines in about what the company does, but this is not the place to advertise for the company at that point. Because this is a company you used to work for anyway. So just put in there what you've done for them, what you did for them, and how well you did it. You know, another thing I think is maybe is missing from here is if you're looking for corporations to hire you to either run events for them or to provide training or talks, um, I would also put some metrics in here about the scope and the scale of what you've done. So how large, and if you are the provider of the training, if you're the trainer, which I'm not sure about, um, you really should be offering some titles and descriptions of some of the trainings that you do regularly.
Yeah. And
So
it's
not
actually super
describing
interesting.
companies.
Tammy, you're making me think now, because the thing is, I think I do it in my own profile too, is that you kind of focus on the now, and of course the about us section, I try and craft that. Still needs a bit of work, but then you know, like you think about what is my consultancy doing now, But it's interesting that you mention this because your experience is actually also the pillars for what you're trying to do today. It's kind of your reason to believe. So in a way, like what I'm hearing from you is that he needs to look at his past experience as kind of a lens that today's customer will look at. So if someone comes
Yeah.
for training and they see, oh, he used, because the thing is, I think, like, to contextualize what I'm trying to say, because I'm rambling, is that he is allowed to do event design training because he has produced events, he's managed events, he's been a consultant on events. And this
Okay.
is like, and I think that builds the pillars, because I think sometimes these days we have a lot of people who are trainers who've never done the job. He's
Oh,
done the job.
easily.
Yeah,
So that does not come across here that he is training people to do event design. I
true.
do not get that here
Yeah, and
at
that's his
all.
thing,
That
right?
he's
That's his main thing.
okay. So I do not get that here that he is training people to do event design. What I get from this profile is that he is designing events for other people, not that he's training people to learn how to do event design.
And I think that
I
is, I
don't get
mean,
that.
that's what came through from his request, is that, because I mean, he has done that, right? That without a doubt, he's done
Oh,
events. But
absolutely.
his big value proposition at the moment is that he is now opening the door for new people to come in and say, listen, come, I have this methodology, I have a bunch of people around me that is a community, I can be your guide on this journey, I'll show you how it's done.
Right. So that definitely does not. I mean, I see some language in here where I think he thinks he's telling you that, but it's got to be far more explicit that that is what he is doing now.
Right. If
Um,
you disagree, Anthony, you can always drop a comment and say, you guys are crazy. But I think Tammy's got a point. Tammy's got a point.
yeah, no, I'm all open to people disagreeing with me. I just don't. I did not get that from this. I did, and the fact is, I'm looking at this long enough, and I looked at it even before we came on, and I got the fact. I'm thinking Anthony's building a business designing events for other people, not that he's trying to teach others how to design
Yeah.
events. So I did not get that.
Great insight.
I didn't get it, Anthony. But Anthony, I know you can convey that, and you've got all the elements here to do it.
It's all here.
It's all here, and you've got all the experience to do it. So, not a problem. Not a problem.
He's been a busy guy.
He says he's definitely not, he's not a slacker.
That's one thing you can't say about Anthony.
He's not a slacker. Flinders University.
Yeah.
I've not heard of that. I don't know where that is, but why would I?
Yeah, where is that?
Sacred Heart College, which is a high school. So I would also say that you don't need to put your high school diploma on your LinkedIn profile. You can if you want, but you certainly don't need to. You can start with your education after high school. That would be my suggestion. It takes up space, and sometimes when you include things like that, it pushes other things down. Just my thoughts on that one. Even though I like the fact that you were a music captain and you did do audiovisual support, but you've got so many other great things going for you
Yeah.
here. I really don't think you need it.
Okay. And then,
Yeah, I think if for example, if Sacred Heart had like some, big, robust like alumni association, like it was like really like a big deal, you might leave that there if it was really going to be a searchable thing. But I don't even know where the school is. So one of the things that's sort of missing for me is where are these places? I don't know. I'm curious to know where is it. So, but that's just me being curious. So those are just some of my thoughts there.
Sparked some curiosity.
Well, I'm always wondering all kinds of things, but then again, people wonder all kinds of things about me. So, like, what's going on with that person?
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I like this. I like he's got all his LinkedIn learning stuff.
Yeah.
That's great. Excellent.
He's keeping himself educated.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Excellent. Oh, this is great. I love when people include their volunteer experiences. I think it shows that they are they're engaged and involved in things. I think that speaks well of a person. So I really like that, Anthony.
I need to update mine, but I don't volunteer enough. I'm so bad.
I wasn't going to say anything to you about that, but you really ought to, do something.
I need to volunteer in something.
Isn't this volunteering what you're doing right here?
Can I put it on LinkedIn?
Yeah, this is great, Anthony. I like
Yeah.
this. This is this really is great.
Oh, he's really involved in the industry, yeah.
Yeah, but it's good to give back this way. Get to know lots of good people too. Sets a good example.
Oopsie, I can't scroll further, but there's like one more directed at large at Ilea Vancouver.
Okay.
Definitely
good.
The man of that's
so
the end of the page.
In terms of really using this for promotional purposes, I think there's a couple of key things here. And we're going to need to wrap up in a few minutes here. But
yeah.
I think that the key here is to really own this as your profile, Anthony, and to really emphasize what it is that you want people to know most about you. And that is that you are offering people the opportunity to learn how to design their own events based on the fact that you have, extensive experience doing it yourself. And so you really have to make that more explicit. That's number one. That's really the main thing here. And I think I gave some other feedback along the way that is really a choice how you want to use that advice.
Excellent, Tammy. So shall we wrap this one up so we can go and grab our coffees?
Yes.
And I need to go volunteer to go bath my son.
Yes, that's not a volunteer job. That's.
Damn it! I was trying to sneak through. Love your mug, by the way. Yeah, it's a contract.
You.
It's an obligation.
It's a commitment.
It's a commitment. I learn new words every day when I
don't know why I'm correcting you. I'm not your mother.
You are a coach. You're just getting me on the right track. Tammy, let's reconnect. We can have a bit of a break because we have a little bit of a end of the month gap. Also, I need to go get some new guests. We need to get some new volunteers for our reviews.
Yeah.
So we'll be back shortly. Tammy, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to close the show down. Thank you so much for doing this once again. It's always a blast having you on and looking at all these insights. I've already noted 2 things down while you were talking that I have to go change on my profile. So if you're changing me, hopefully you're driving some change for other folks too, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Happy to help.
Cool. Let me wrap this up quickly. So there you have it. Creative coffee break. We're wrapping this up. It's time to go and do whatever you need to do if you watched this far. Remember, as I mentioned in the beginning of the show, if you're watching the re-recording or the recording rather, drop a comment in the comments and let us know where you're watching from so we can get to know you a little bit. Also, don't forget that Tammy is available to maybe have a look. Maybe it's not for I don't want to volunteer her out for nothing, But she's willing to have a look at some profiles here on the Creative Coffee Break. So if you're interested or to potentially have Tammy have a look at your profile, drop us a direct message on wherever channel you're watching from. And then the final ask is, remember, jump into my mailing list to creativecoffeebreak.live if you want to know when we're going live again. And yeah, so taking a little bit of a break, so keep an eye on the social channels when we go live again. It's probably in the next, like over a week or two, we'll be live again. And I'll twist Tammy's arm to come back and we'll look at another profile. So once again, thank you for watching, and yeah, catch you in the comments.